Bunny and I would like to welcome you to our interview. The E in Fears, which is Bunny.
Exercise.
We are bringing in a guest. She is Madie Dinglasan. She is a pound instructor in the Philippines, in Manila. And I discovered her personally because I joined her class in Salcedo, Makati. And she has a very inspiring story. And Bunny, what are you excited to hear about Madie and Pound?
I'm actually excited to learn more about how she started doing this. But she's one of the most popular and is a brand ambassador. So I'm excited to hear about how she started this and how she's continuing the community of ladies throughout this COVID pandemic. So this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, but Pound is a very exciting exercise or sort of workout that you ladies might like it, and we're introducing it to you here in Find Your Fears.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to share what I do with all these fierce women.
And that's really the word, no fears. But okay, so first of all, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
I'm Madie Dinglasan. I'm 40 years old. Former alcoholic turned into fitness advocate. So at the moment, I am teaching several formats. I'm the brand ambassador for Pound Rock Out Workout here in the Philippines. And I also teach Generation Pound, which is the Pound for kids.
Oh, nice.
It's really amazing.
Pound is I'm assuming that Pound is the only one. You're the only one if being the brand ambassador in the Philippines.
Here in the Philippines, we're already about 200 instructors. But I was the first brand ambassador here in the Philippines. And I'm hoping to keep mentoring other instructors to becoming a brand ambassador. So I started my journey in the beginning of 2017. It was a turning point in my life. So
and that's what we want to hear, actually, the turning point of all of what Madie Dinglasan has become.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I was a former alcoholic, and my life had gotten to a point where it was a do or die moment for me. And it may sound corny, but I remember one night I was so drunk and I prayed. I prayed because at this point I was so helpless. I felt helpless. I felt like I didn't know where my life was going. And I remember it so clearly because I said, Lord, I don't know what you want from me. I came from sales and marketing for 17 years of my life. And I was so burnt out, and I knew I was doing a good job, but I felt so unfulfilled. And, the alcohol had taken over my life. Every day I was drunk. So I asked God, I said, wherever you feel you need me to be, let it happen.
Such an inspiring story, Madie.
It was one of those times that God probably said, okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity, but it's either you're going to risk everything and take it, or you're going to stay where you are and lose everything. In the beginning of 2017, as New Year's came in, I have to stop my drinking, I have to stop smoking, and I have to do something now. So I started attending the regular Zumba classes in the community.
And I was just going to ask, where did exercise come in?
Yeah, so I needed to keep myself busy. So sabi ko, okay, I'm gonna try to do this. It gave me something to wake up for. So I started doing that, and then to my surprise, of course, there's a lot of seniors that do enjoy doing the Zumba classes. But I was having such a hard time. I was like, how is it possible that these women are like twice, 3 times my age, and I'm out of breath, and they're going and they're like, yes. So I think that's where I first got inspired or motivated na, I can't come to this class, be the youngest in class, and be all, like so unfit. So I said, okay, I have to go back tomorrow. I have to go back. I have to go back. And I just kept pushing myself. And there were days, of course, the cravings would be so bad. So what I would do, because I would crave my alcohol as early as 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I just would put my running shoes on and I would just run. I would just run, because anything was better than having to think of getting the bottle and drink. A few months after, my classmates in the Zumba were telling me like, "Oy, you lost so much weight," because at this point I was 196 pounds.
Wow.
So they said, you look like you lost weight, and then we even had a little Biggest Loser challenge, and I made sure I won that. So that became like,
Determination.
Yes.
Parang I wanted to shift my addiction to something else. I asked my husband and I said, what do you think if I become a fitness instructor? I was able to inspire these ladies, so maybe it's something I can do. So I did my research, and then I started with a group exercise fitness certification from NESTA, which is the National Exercise for Sports. So I got
is it here in the Philippines
it's
or
it's
online?
Based online course.
Oh.
And so I did that, and then I started doing dance aerobics, singing dumbbells, because this is not it. And then I told my husband again, I think I need to go to an international fitness convention. So I found one that happens every year in Thailand called the Asian Fitness
Yes. That's a big part. That's a very big event actually in Bangkok.
Yes. So I signed up for that. And when you sign up for AFC, they allow you to create your own curriculum for the 3 days. Choosing what classes you would like to attend, and it was amazing because there were so many things that I had never heard of in my life. And that's where I first saw Pound, rock out, workout. So I said, rock out? What does this mean? It sounds so cool, And again, I was trying to do research, but I couldn't find much on the internet, only because Pound is very strict with the releasing of their videos. When I saw it, I was in love. I felt like God opened that door and said, there you go. That's what you're gonna do. And you're gonna do it really well. And then I did my training on September 9, 2017, a week after I was teaching my first class. And one class is now 16 classes in a week. And,
That's so good. So inspiring. From your pivot, from your turning point, okay, you could have gotten into, let's say, baking or something else, DIY, creativity. What made you, look towards exercise?
I think that I always ask this to myself also, because it's something you would not expect from an alcoholic. It's so extreme. And I would like to say that I think that day when I asked God to put me where He wants me to be, I think He chose this path because I can't be both. If I'm going to start teaching people about wellness and taking care of themselves, I have to make sure I myself am out of that. And that was parang for me, any other thing that I could have done, I could have gotten back to drinking.
Yeah.
I could have been baking and putting rum in my...
That's exactly, yeah.
Diba? So I think it was really God's way of saying, you know what? I'm going to give you this chance to inspire other people that change is possible is such a drastic change. For people that knew me when they actually found out I first started doing this, they were laughing at me. Some of them were saying, we'll give her 3 months and we'll see, you know. And it was very hard for me to sort of have to prove myself because people already knew me a certain way. And to have to ready myself from scratch and to prove myself from way down here and say, that's not me anymore. That really took, I think, a lot of guts, a lot of patience, and it's really pure will and determination that I was not going to go back to this old life of mine.
Yeah, and in fact, Madie, how inspiring your story. And I think what's important also is that you realize that, you know, to hell with what people, sorry for the language, but, you know, to hell with what people think about myself before. I have now made the decision. This is my path. This is where I'm going. And so, you know, I have every right to change. And if they don't want to agree with me, it's up to them. And I think that's a very fierce, and I think that's why Mia has invited you here also. That's why we're inviting you. It's such a fierce character for a woman to say, I've decided to make a change to be better for myself, for my family, and to inspire other women, especially during your class, right? So such an inspiring story. Yeah, very fierce. Thank you, Madie.
It was not an easy road. I had to let go of a lot of people in life, but you can't have both. If you want that change, you have to change, which means there's a lot of things that you need to give up from that past life, and you have to leave it there. Of course, there was a lot of sadness that went with that, but you have to do what you have to do to take care of yourself. At the end of the day, only you can make a better life for yourself.
That's
Nobody
true.
can do that for you. So
That's exactly what this whole, you know, campaign project or whatever you call it is really finding your fears. And this is where, when I discovered Find Your Fears Global or this thing, it was really hard for us. I mean, change is really hard to begin with, right? Change is it's a choice. It is a decision that you have to do, which you had to, you know, move it headstrong. And I think that's so inspiring of you to turn yourself, your life around into something meaningful and purposeful. But it took you a while. It's like what we believe here, you're better today than yesterday. Always better today than yesterday. So at this point, what does exercise mean to you?
well, for me, it's everything. Because of what I got into, I have met the most amazing women that come to my class. In fact, what I have been able to build was more than just classes. It's really a community of women that we show up for each other. We're there for each other. We genuinely care about each other. It's not just a hi, bye, you know. No, we actually became the best of friends. And it really amazes me how I think part of that was really not being afraid to share my story with them. And before I knew it, I would have some students approach me after class and share to me why they came to class, why they were there, and how they were also struggling, and how something just asked them to show up in my class. And, you know, after they did it, now they're a part of something. So fitness for me, it's everything. It's emotional, it's physical, it's mental. It's really a group effort. And we all have to be on the same page. We all have to want to change. And I'm not talking about you have to be strong to do this. No, you just need to have the heart to want to do this, to want to work out, to want to feel better, and to want to do better. I think it affects every decision we make in life because we can think better. we react better. We're a little more positive
Yeah.
after given time to work out and sweat it out. There are days that I won't lie to you, before after class, I feel crappy. I'm only human also. So I do have my bad days, but
Yeah.
I walk into that door and I have to leave that feeling behind because I see everybody else just waiting so excitedly for class to start. And if I feel this way, I'm sure everybody else feels this way too. Be there for each other. And I think it's important that everybody knows that this is not something we do alone. This is something that we can do together, and we're here to be fierce for each other.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about for me.
Yeah, Madie, now that it's nice to know that you've built a community and these ladies really look forward to coming together, right? Now that the COVID and this pandemic has begun, since it began, right? Everyone's been on lockdown, quarantine. And I understand that you have online classes now, right? So how is that naman affecting the women in terms of connecting or being, close together or that type? How is it going now?
Before we were officially on quarantine, I kind of noticed that something was steering because I noticed that less and less people were going to the classes in the gym. So immediately I asked permission from Pound headquarters and asked if I could conduct the online class for my squad. And of course, Pound is a format that really takes care of itself. So with the proper protocols and the proper channels, I was able to do it. So we had a lot of trial and error from day one. But I think it was so important for me to keep going because I didn't want it to get to a point where everybody would lose the momentum. So when I noticed this palang, and then sure enough, I think 2 or 3 days after they had announced that, okay, everybody's going to be on lockdown, we had already talked. And actually, it was the Salcedo girls that suggested, let's just keep going. And so we figured it out. What I mentioned earlier of being a community is that they patiently did it with me. So through the mistakes and through the triumphs, we were all there. We started from day one. The music was still cracky, but I think everybody was just happy that, okay, so here's this quarantine. We don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're still continuing our pound. And I think that gave them the sense of normal. And so we started with that. And then I started inviting my other students. And I said, guys, if you still want to continue, you're more than welcome to join us. And so for over 2 months now, we've been having the classes online. And I think it's great that we get to see each other every day. What used to be like in Salcedo, what used to be twice a week is now 4 times a week for us. And again, I think it's that support and that respect that we have for each other that, we're not going to give up. And for me as an instructor, if this is going to be the new normal for a while, I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep improving how I teach. And I'm going to keep grabbing the opportunities. We have to be game changers in this time. And we can't sit down and wait for things to happen. You have to make it happen. You have to make it work.
That's how fierce is, right, Matt? Who do you cater to? How do you qualify your students?
For me, I always say the most important part is actually showing up. The fact that you showed up means that you're ready to change, that you want something going. Pound is a workout that's good for all stages and ages. There are modifications that I give. There's always an orientation before the class to explain what they can and cannot do. I normally interview them if it's their first time and I ask them, do you have any injuries? How low can you squat? What can you do? And then I give them modifications to make sure that it's a safe practice for them. it's such an enjoyable class. And of course, I always say it's progressive. You're not gonna get it on the first go. My rock star of the day in class is the one person who's all over the place. But she's smiling and she's really ganado and just, yeah! And that's it. Because guess what? As difficult as it was for her, she'll be back tomorrow. Because she had a great time. Rather than try to kill yourself, figuring it out, and then tomorrow you'll be like, oh, you know what? It was just too much for me. We'll progress. It gets there, diba? So
It's actually fun, Bunny. I tried it. I haven't tried it online.
I have a class.
Great that you're able to get the community going. And I wanted to say congratulations. And it's nice that you, in fact, from you said once a week or at least twice a week, these women now are getting it 4 times a week. Right?
That's just for pound.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's getting the women to move more.
Yeah.
And it's also nice that your community is not just Salcedo or it's not just wherever, Quezon City or whatever, wherever location. It's becoming one community of women who want to change and exercise. That's great. And I'm glad that you brought it up about women and you interview them first if this is their first time. So for women who want to do a transformation and they want to do pound, do you recommend that they do this every day or just go with
3 times a week would be really good. You also don't want your muscles to, you kind of want to follow it up.
Yeah.
Another thing is people tend to get lazy when they're waiting for something for so long. So you want to keep it going, right? So an alternate class would be great. This is also why I have the Nirvana in between is because the pound is such a high impact workout, which is great. But we also forget that there are also times that it's just good to do your stretching and your breathing. And, so I always tell them, don't stick to just one workout. Do your pound 3 times a week. In between that, do your yoga class, do your Nirvana class, do a dance class. I think balance is very important also.
Yeah. Our recommendation is not to do one thing all the time. It's really trying to add layers to it so that your life will have a holistic balance. In anything, even food, right? You're not supposed to be just eating one thing.
Yes.
It's really just a balance of everything. In your class, I just wanted to ask, what are the common struggles?
There's actually a lot. I think for me, the hardest is that people are always so eager to hit the floor with the sticks. That when they do, they're going to force their body to tilt forward. Now, when you're squatting, what you want is to keep your shoulders back. Your shoulders down, but you want it back. And your back is still straight when you squat. Your knees don't overshoot the toes. So when you come down, I should be able to see your face and not your head. And this is where I always tell them, if you can't hit the floor yet, just modify for now. The modification will include staying by the hips, staying by the knees, by the shin until you can go to the floor. I think people have a big problem being very competitive with themselves. And they feel like they have to compete with people in the room. And that's why when I have a first timer, I put my first timer in front of me. Because I don't want them following somebody that's already been in class for a long time. I want you to look at me. I don't want you to make pansin anybody else behind the class. Other people have been doing this a long time. It's your first time, you look at me. And by doing that, I can properly see what they're doing wrong and then visually cue and modify them. There are students that will listen to the modifications and they're very good at it. And I sound like a broken record in my classes because every class I will repeat my orientation over and over. I think that's a challenge for them is the cardio of it all.
You mean endurance? The endurance.
Because remember that in pound, there's so much going on. So I have coordination from my hands and my legs. I have the movement. I'm taking care of my squats. I'm thinking of my lunge. And then I'm jumping all at the same time. So it's actually been funny because I have a lot of men in particular who look at their wives pounding and be like, so easy. You know, I go to the gym. I do that in CrossFit. And then they join the class. And after 3 songs, they're like, why? Because you can be good at doing your CrossFit and whatever, but there's no cardio with that. You're doing that at your own pace. That's all strength. But when you're doing strength, you're doing cardio, and you're doing coordination all at the same time, then it's a lot to take in. So again, the modifications will come in. So instead of jumping, stay here, don't go so low. And then I always make sure that I have a little more water breaks, especially now it's summer. So that's like reminder number 1 is when you feel like you need to stop and take a sip of water, do so, you know.
Yes. Especially now, I think the temperature in Manila has risen up to 49, 50, 51 degrees.
It's really crazy. In fact, like after a class, I feel like I have heat stroke. I have to like, it's crazy, you know. And I always tell the girls, I mean, especially now because it's online, so I'm not physically there to see if
true.
Is anybody still pale, you know.
And that's also a struggle now to you because of the online, you know, the connection. As you said, Zoom. There's another technicality to work with, and then the technicality of the movements. So to summarize, what is pound? Is it a cardio, mobility, agility?
Pound is a 45-minute, we call it cardio jam session. And as you know, it is inspired by playing the drums. So in pound, we really work out everything. Muscles that you think never existed in your body, guess what? They're going to start saying, hello, I was here all along. So it's really an overall workout. And I think that's why it's so great, because in 45 minutes, I can do everything. I've done my arms, I've done my core, I've done my glutes, I've done my thighs. So what else could you ask for?
Not only that, I'm sure, as Madie mentioned, also coordination, and that takes a lot of brain and mental focus.
The question is that stick. So
right now, because there's no way of me getting the sticks to anyone, I mean also for hygienic purposes, we have been allowed by Pound to use an air drum and hand clapping technique. Because everything is moving still through the arms, okay? The sticks actually just add weight. So I will teach you how to do it, air drumming. The intensity is still the same. And trust me, when I'm pumping, I am still pumping the same muscles. When I'm clapping, I'm still clapping. I'm still going up, okay? So movements are still the same. Other women have gotten creative. And it's really great to see they've used wooden spatulas that they find in the kitchen. Some women have those bamboo sticks that they decorate in vases.
Or the feather duster, you know.
Because of the circumstance nowadays, they have allowed us to do that. But just to note and to let everybody know that in a normal Pound class, you're not allowed to come with whatever sticks you want. The instructors would provide the rip sticks for you.
Can you buy the sticks online? If
you can buy it from poundfit.com, and I believe Amazon also sells them already.
Then so it's official. It's the Pound stick. Okay. Oh, thank you. Last question. What is your definition of fierce? Personal mantra, or what is fierce to you, and what sums up fierce in your vocabulary?
It is somebody that's not afraid to take risks. because I think life is full of opportunities, but we have to be risk takers. We will always fail, and we know that. But with failure comes learning from that failure. So I think that whole mentality of being a risk taker and just going for it, that for me is fierce.
Thank you. Thank you. What nice,
Thank
nice.
you so,
nice
so
words.
much for everything, for this opportunity to be able to share with you guys, and of course to all the fierce women out there.